I'm excited to share my first story with you. It's about my wife, who is 32 and absolutely stunning. She has an effortless grace, a flawless sense of style, and exquisite taste. She's also incredibly kind and beautiful on the inside. We've been married for 3 years, and I still consider myself extremely fortunate to have her in my life. From the outside, she always seems to make a great impression on everyone she meets. I'm always amazed that we were high school sweethearts. We were the couple everyone thought would last forever. We had a lovely house, 2 beautiful children aged 10 and 12, a wonderful dog and a seemingly perfect life. But as time went on, cracks began to appear in our seemingly perfect facade. The constant demands of work and parenting took a toll on our relationship, and we started drifting apart despite our best efforts. We tried to ignore the growing distance between us, but deep down I always believed that there was love and mutual respect between us, despite all the ups and downs we had been through. As the parental demands kept on increasing, we were less and less available for each other. My wife started having long and unreasonable work hours, often coming home late at night or not coming home at all, which put a strain on our relationship as we hardly had any quality time together and made it difficult to communicate on a deeper level. Most often than not, I was left as I was the one looking after my son. It no longer felt like a team effort. I had to juggle his school schedule, extracurricular activities, and everyday tasks all on my own. The burden of responsibility weighed heavily on me, and I yearned for the support and shared responsibilities that a team effort brings. I never in my wildest dream had I imagined that my wife would do something unfathomable. I did not see it coming at all. It is hard to believe that a mundane act of taking the garbage out could lead to such a life-changing event. One evening, as I walked towards the garbage cans, I had a sudden change of heart. It was as if the routine task had triggered a deep reflection on my true desires and happiness, despite the external picture-perfect life we had. I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something missing, something unfulfilled within. As I was tossing in the last bag, I noticed something strange. There was a wrapper that had caught my eye. It was something I had never seen before. My heart sank, and I knew that my suspicions were right. The wrapper had an unfamiliar logo and a peculiar design. Its vibrant colors and intricate patterns seemed out of place among the usual packaging. As I looked at it more closely, I got a strange feeling. It seemed like this discovery held a deeper meaning that I hadn't yet uncovered. It was a used condom that didn't belong to me. I hadn't used it, and it had been too long since I had sex with my wife. My wife was cheating on me. I could feel it in my gut. The weight of the realization hit me. I was blown away. I went back to the house, my mind racing. How could she do this to me? I loved her more than anything in the world, and this was how she repaid me. It was unfathomable. Despite my initial shock, I tried to convince myself that I was overreacting. Maybe there was a logical explanation for the protective wrapper in the bin. Maybe I had a feeling she might have a medical issue, but I didn't know what it was. The evidence was pretty overwhelming, though. The texts on her phone, the late nights at work, and now this mysterious wrapper, it all pointed to one thing: betrayal. My heart sank as I realized that our relationship would never be the same again. I tried to put it out of my head and go about my day, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. My daily life seemed normal. I went to work, played with my kids, and acted like everything was fine. But the more I thought about it, the more convinced I was that she was unfaithful. I started looking for signs, and they were all around me: the way she acted, the way she dressed, the way she talked. Everything seemed to point towards her being unfaithful. I couldn't ignore my gut feeling any longer. I decided to have an honest conversation with her to put my mind at ease. However, I knew that regardless of the outcome, our relationship would never be the same again. So I had a chat with her. I told her what I had seen in the bin and asked her to explain it to me. At first, she was defensive at first, saying there was a logical explanation, but as I pressed her, her story started to unravel. She admitted that she'd been having an affair for almost a year with the new employee at work. I was shocked and saddened to hear this. I felt betrayed and heartbroken. Everything I thought I knew about our relationship suddenly felt like a lie. I'd always had doubts about the new guy in her office. She always mentioned that he was young and handsome, which made me wonder if there was more to it than just professional admiration. It made me question her. I was wondering what her intentions were and whether she was developing a personal interest in him. She always denied it, saying that he was just a colleague. However, many people suspected that there was more to their relationship than she let on. Some even claimed to have seen them together outside of work hours, which fueled the speculation further. During our confrontation, she told me that I was the only guy she'd ever been with. She'd never known any other way of being loved. This new guy tried to show interest in her, but she ignored it at first. Days went by and she couldn't help but start feeling attracted to him. She liked the way he looked at her and the way he complimented her. One day when their hands brushed, it sent a shiver down her spine. She found herself eagerly anticipating their interactions and cherishing every moment they spent together. The subtle physical connection they shared only deepened her growing infatuation, leaving her yearning for more intimate moments with him. She'd never felt this way in her life. Without a thought, she wanted to experience this feeling. She got goosebumps. She was excited for their next meeting, looking forward to every moment they spent together. The subtle physical connection they shared made her infatuation grow, leaving her wanting more intimate moments with him. She'd never felt this way before and wanted to experience it. She wanted to explore this new feeling more and more. She craved its presence in every aspect of her life. The allure of this sensation was strong. It urged her to seek new experiences that would intensify and prolong this feeling of euphoria. She said that he made love to her in a way that she had never experienced before. It was an intimate encounter that left her feeling both exhilarated and deeply connected to him. The passion and tenderness he brought to their lovemaking awakened a new level of pleasure within her, making her crave more of his touch and presence. Listening to her talk about it made me both sick and furious. How could she so shamelessly describe her lust in such a way? It was tasteful, but it was also appalling to witness her lack of remorse as she indulged in graphic details, disregarding any sense of decency. Her audacity to glorify her immoral desires only intensified my feelings of disgust and anger. I realized that I could never trust her again. I loved her, but I couldn't forgive her for what she had done to me. I couldn't live with that. Despite my love for her, I made the difficult decision to end our relationship because I was constantly suspicious and doubtful. It was a painful choice, but I knew it was necessary, even though it seemed like an impossible task at the time. I had to end our relationship to regain my peace of mind and protect my emotional well-being. It took a lot of strength to walk away from someone I still loved, but I knew that staying would only prolong my suffering and prevent me from moving forward in life. I asked her to move out of my house right then and there. I didn't even want to look at her face. She said she got carried away and didn't want to ruin our relationship. I told her to leave. She said she couldn't live without the kids, but it was too late for that. If she cared so much about them, she wouldn't have made such a decision. I reminded her that her actions had consequences. I told her that her actions had consequences and that she should have thought about the kids before making such a reckless choice. As I closed the door behind her, I felt a mix of anger and sadness, realizing that our relationship had reached an irreparable point. The next day, I filed for divorce. It was a painful and lengthy process, but I knew it was the only way forward. I hired a lawyer who made sure that she didn't get any alimony or custody of my kids because of her cheating behavior. My lawyer suggested that I appeal in court because a woman who didn't think about the well, he said that hiding her affair for almost a year didn't show she deserved custody of the kids. He also asked me to present any evidence I had of her infidelity and to emphasize how her actions had negatively impacted our children's emotional well-being. I wanted her to realize that she made a huge mistake by taking things for granted. No matter what she tried, I would try with all my might to keep her away from my house and my kids. The next day, I called all of our mutual friends and let them know that I had left my wife as she was cheating and would expect them to stick by me. I also drove to her office during lunchtime to go and see her. I then announced in front of all her colleagues that we'd separated and that she could now date this guy. I also asked their boss about the company policy on office romance and what the rules are for people who have affairs. I found out that after a week, both my wife and her boyfriend were fired from their jobs because of the policies against office romance. The news of their termination caused quite a stir in the office, with rumors and gossip spreading like wildfire. However, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that the results of their actions caught up with them. It was a harsh lesson for both my wife and her boyfriend. It showed us that actions have consequences, not only in personal but also in professional settings. It was sad to see the life we had built together falling apart, but I knew that it was for the best. In hindsight, I realized that finding that protective wrapper in the bin was a blessing in disguise. It exposed the truth about my wife's infidelity and allowed me to finally confront the painful reality of our crumbling relationship. The discovery of her betrayal shattered my trust, but it also gave me the strength to start rebuilding my life and finding happiness again. It gave me the strength to start rebuilding my life and finding happiness again. It was a painful experience, but it taught me a lot about myself and what I'm willing to accept in a relationship. I learned the importance of trust and communication, and now I prioritize these qualities in any future relationships. I'm in a much better place now. I'm single, but I'm not alone. I have a great support system in my friends and family. I'm much happier than I was in my marriage. I try to spend as much time as I can with my kids since the end of my marriage. I have found a newfound sense of happiness and contentment. It has allowed me to prioritize spending quality time with my kids and making the most of every moment we have together. I've learned that sometimes the end of one chapter is just the beginning of another, and this new chapter in my life is just beginning. If I could offer any advice to someone going through a similar situation, it would be this: trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Don't ignore the signs. It's important to listen to your gut and acknowledge any red flags that may arise. Trusting your instincts can help you make informed decisions and protect yourself from potential harm. If you feel disappointed, remember that your intuition is a powerful tool that shouldn't be underestimated. Most importantly, don't settle for less than you deserve. Life is too short to be unhappy. We all deserve to be loved and respected. The woman is busy with providing for the family and decides that she is not getting enough love. She tries to seek love outside of marriage, even though she doesn't think of the hard work her partner has put in to bring food to the table and for all the comforts she was enjoying. She starts feeling neglected and unappreciated. She might start to question the stability of the relationship and wonder if she's still valued by her partner. This could lead her to seek emotional fulfillment elsewhere, as she longs for the affection and attention she feels is lacking in her marriage. She might try to find a new man who can act on her whims and wishes. She finds someone new and leaves her old relationship for this new, exciting romance. To the user, I think you did the right thing by teaching her a lesson she deserved. People who take advantage of your trust should be taught a lesson. It's important to set boundaries and ensure that others understand. Teaching her a lesson has two benefits. It protects you and shows that trust is something you don't take for granted. It's important to have healthy relationships based on mutual respect and honesty. I wonder if she'll find someone else and move on after she's finished with this one. She was also overwhelmed by love, which made her want to take risks and step outside of her comfort zone. She had only ever been in one relationship, so she didn't know what true love was. She wanted to experience the excitement and depth of emotions that come with being in a passionate and fulfilling relationship. Her varied experiences left her craving a connection that would ignite her soul and show her the true essence of love. The next few months were the toughest of my life. I was a single dad trying to pick up the pieces of my shattered existence while also supporting my kids. It was a tough balancing act, but I managed to make it work. I was also looking for ways to punish my wife for the betrayal she had caused. I made sure she stayed away from my kids. I didn't let her talk to them or meet them. My kids were mature enough to understand what was going on. They were totally on board with my decision. They didn't want to talk to her either. They were just as upset with her as I was. They couldn't believe that their mom could do something like this. Her new boyfriend, who she'd been cheating on, had left her when she told him she wouldn't be getting any alimony. He wanted custody of the kids. He was expecting her to get a hefty alimony, with which he could start his own business. He blamed her for not being careful and getting caught by me. This is what karma looks like. He believed that she deserved to suffer the consequences of her actions and felt betrayed. As I watched their relationship fall apart, it became clear that her deceitful behavior had finally caught up with her. It was a lesson in the workings of karma. In the end, she is the one left with no one by her side. This is all down to her actions, and she is paying the price for them. If she doesn't have a supportive partner or kids to turn to, loneliness can become a real issue. It's tough to find comfort when you're isolated. She's missed out on the warmth and security of a family that could have been hers. Hi Reddit, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind recently. I made a mistake by creating a profile on a dating app without telling my partner. It was a rash decision that I regret now, and I'm trying to make things right in our relationship. A few weeks ago, I had a big fight with my boyfriend. I noticed that he was getting really absorbed in his work, and we barely saw each other. I felt like I wasn't a priority for him, and it upset me a lot. We ended up having a heated argument. We both shared our frustrations and concerns. He told me that the next 2 months would be busy at work because he'd also be covering for a friend. He said he loved me and promised to take me on a trip to a place I wanted to go after all the extra work and overtime was done. He was keeping his phone out of sight at work, so I didn't buy his excuse of being busy. We hadn't had any quality time together in a few days, and I felt like I was being left behind. I decided to talk to him about my worries and the insufficient effort he was making in our relationship, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more going on. I had this uneasy feeling that there might be more going on than just his long hours at work. My partner got really busy with his job and would often come home late, with barely any energy left to engage in meaningful conversations or activities with me. It was frustrating to see our relationship taking a back seat to I was surprised that his career was taking over and affecting his personal life. As the days passed, he started acting like usual without addressing the issue that we had. I didn't know how to react and I was feeling pretty low. One day I was talking to a friend about the issues in my love life and she suggested that I go to meet her to take my mind off things. She'd also invited a few of our close friends for a sleepover. We had a great time catching up and doing something fun together. It was a nice change of pace from my relationship troubles and just enjoying the present moment with a good friend. The laughter and positive energy we shared made me realize how important it is to have people around you who support you when things are tough. After all the fun and games, when we were lying down tired after all the energy spent, I told them how I've been feeling lately. I told them how this is affecting me both mentally and emotionally. I don't feel good about myself anymore and I'm worried I might be heading towards depression. After listening to my side of the story, my friends suggested I need to find a life outside of my relationship as well. They also mentioned that my life cannot revolve around my partner. I realized that I needed to find a positive purpose in my life that was separate from my identity as a girlfriend. As time went on, I kept thinking about the conversation I had had with my friends. I had to admit that I didn't have any other identity apart from being a very good and understanding partner. I was trying to become an independent individual. I tried a few hobbies like reading books, taking up dance classes, and learning a new language. I couldn't focus on any of them for more than a few days. They didn't bring any change or happiness to my mind. The last attempt was to try yoga as I'd heard a lot of good things about it for mental. I found that yoga helped me to achieve a sense of balance. It was a refreshing change and I enjoyed it. I realized that yoga had benefits for my mind as well as my body. It helped me to escape from the chaos of everyday life and connect with my inner self. As I continued with yoga, I noticed a positive shift in my overall well-being. I felt a new sense of contentment and it became more than just a hobby, it became a transformative journey towards self-discovery. I made a discovery and experienced personal growth when I was doing my daily yoga session. I stretched a little too much and injured my leg, tearing a ligament. I couldn't do any physical activity for 2 weeks. When I told my boyfriend about my leg injury, he didn't seem to care much about it. This caused a further rift in our relationship. I started to wonder if this was the same guy that made my heart skip a beat in the past. It was very alarming to see that he barely reacted to my situation. In fact, he even blamed me for trying to fill my boredom with something productive. Since I was stuck at home without much movement, I would just be a couch potato and do a lot of mindless scrolling. I was bored day after day, scrolling on social media. I wanted to change that, so I decided to create a Tinder account. I wanted to see if I could receive validation from strangers on the internet. I carefully selected my best photos and crafted a witty bio. I entered the world of swiping right and left with the hope of putting my best foot forward. It was exciting seeing the matches flood and in reading flattering messages from potential suitors. It was the validation I had craved from my partner for a long time. It fueled my ego and temporarily soothed my self-esteem. A few days in, I was already getting a lot of attention from all over the place. It was something I'd been missing in my life. I was gaining confidence and starting to have a new identity for myself, even if it was superficial. I couldn't stop myself from checking and responding to all the messages I was getting. It was quite overwhelming when the responses started rolling in. At first, it seemed harmless, a mix of compliments and constructive criticism. However, things quickly took a turn when my inbox began overflowing with DMs from strangers, leaving flirtatious comments and attempting to initiate conversations with me. I didn't know how to react. Part of me felt flattered by the attention, while another part felt guilty for even putting myself in that situation. I never intended to cross any boundaries or entertain advances from others, but deep down I knew this was an experiment that could quickly spiral out of control. It didn't take long for things to get out of hand. Blue, my partner, asked me if I was on any dating apps. I was so thirsty for validation that I forgot what I was putting at stake. I lied through my teeth, saying that I did not need any apps as I already had what I needed. There was nothing much said after that, and I forgot about this conversation with my partner. Days went by, and I did not think much of it. The endless cycle of swiping, matching and messaging on dating apps continued. As usual, I started to feel guilty. I wondered if my partner had figured out that I was lying and if it would come back to haunt me. I decided to delete my Tinder account before that happened. My partner confronted me on the same day, showing me a picture of myself along with screenshots of mindless messages I had sent on Tinder. I was speechless and ashamed. My partner confronted me about my Tinder account. I told him he'd gone through my phone, but I didn't have a defense. He said he'd never stoop so low. He told me that one of his friend's brothers had recently moved to town and was looking for company on Tinder. He started chatting with a really hot girl. He showed one of the girl's pictures to his brother, who immediately recognized you. He asked me if I remembered the day he asked me about dating apps. I lied. That was him. I thought he'd be willing to trust me when he first asked me about it, but I was wrong. I told him I hadn't done it, but I had. I'd created a Tinder account and shared our anniversary photos, which he'd taken. He was really upset. I didn't know if he'd ever be able to trust me again. I told him it was nothing serious and that I was just bored. I was trying to get some validation because he'd been too busy lately. I was feeling lonely and had doubts about this relationship. It was all in vain. He read me a few chats that I had sent to a few guys and told me that it made him sick. The trust we had built over the years was shaken and our once solid foundation started to crumble. Jealousy and insecurity killed us, causing arguments and distance between us. I never meant to hurt him, but my misguided experiment backfired spectacularly. I apologized profusely, explaining that I never intended for things to escalate this way. I admitted my foolishness. I really hurt him and I asked him to forgive me and give me a second chance to rebuild what we had lost. He doesn't trust me anymore and I'm really worried that I've damaged our relationship. I love him more than anything and I can't bear the thought of losing him because of my own thoughtlessness. I just want to remind everyone that we shouldn't define our attractiveness by what others think. Our worth is not determined by matches, likes or upvotes. We are so much more than that. I'm slowly picking up the pieces of my shattered self-esteem. I'm going to try some self-esteem therapy. I've realized that my worth doesn't depend on a dating app. I'm learning to love myself for who I am, not for what others think. I'm looking for advice on how to make amends and show my boyfriend that he's the only one for me. Is it possible to rebuild the trust we had? I'm ready to do whatever it takes I want to make things right, but I'm worried I may have pushed my boyfriend away too much. First and foremost, you need to admit you made a mistake and take responsibility for it. It's important to communicate openly and honestly with your boyfriend to reassure him of your love and loyalty. Patience, understanding, and consistent actions that prove your commitment can help rebuild trust. I think you're wrong to say that he's to blame for creating a Tinder account and trying to win prizes. I disagree with the others who say he's manipulative. He didn't treat you well, and when you started looking for validation elsewhere, he seemed upset and angry. It's a common male-dominating behavior that we see everywhere. I'd suggest you start afresh and stay away from such men. It's been days since my partner moved out. He doesn't want to communicate with me. He says I've asked a friend to go over and pick up all his belongings, but he won't say where he's been staying. I'm not sure what I should do to get him back in my life. I feel like I've ruined something that was once beautiful, and now I'm left with a deep sense of regret. I've tried reaching out to him multiple times, but he continues to ignore my calls and messages. The silence between us is suffocating, and I can't help but wonder if is there anything I could do to make amends and rebuild our relationship? The absence of his presence in my life is a constant reminder of the mistakes I've made, leaving me consumed by remorse and longing for a chance to make things right. I wish I could turn back time and undo the mistakes I made, but all I can do now is give him space and hope that he will eventually be willing to talk things through. It's a painful lesson to learn, but I am determined to work on it. I need to show him that I am truly sorry for my actions. I wish things could go back to the way they were, but I know that it will take patience and understanding from both of us to heal the wounds caused by my mistakes. I am hopeful that with time and effort we can create a new and stronger foundation for our relationship, one built on trust, communication, and forgiveness. I now cherish the little things that we did for each other even more than ever. These small gestures of love and kindness remind me of the deep connection we shared and the time we spent together. I find solace in knowing that our bond will forever be cherished in my heart. At night, I lie in bed and think about the beautiful moments we had together. Instead of feeling haunted, I choose to embrace these memories as a source of comfort and gratitude. I was so blinded by getting validation from others that I failed to see what was right in front of me. I've come to see the true value of our relationship. I realize now that it was never about seeking validation from anyone else. It was about the genuine love and happiness we brought to each other's lives. Those memories serve as a reminder to prioritize authentic connections over external validation. I'm grateful for the lessons they have taught me. I understand that rebuilding trust takes time and effort. I'm committed to demonstrating genuine change through my actions. In the meantime, I will focus on personal growth and I'm going to use this time to become a better person for both myself and our relationship. I'll actively look for ways to learn from my mistakes and work on any underlying issues that may have contributed to the breach of trust. I'm also open to seeking professional help or guidance if necessary, as I'm fully dedicated to rebuilding the trust that has been broken. I understand the importance of receiving support and navigating this process. It's crucial for me to take responsibility for my actions and show a sincere willingness to make amends. I hope to gradually rebuild the trust that was lost and create a stronger foundation for our relationship moving forward. I hope my story has a happy ending. I want to believe that our love will conquer all and that we will find a way to move past these difficulties and grow as a couple. I have faith that our relationship is strong enough to get us through whatever challenges we face. Despite the hurt and uncertainty, I'm not ready to give up on my relationship. I'm going to try every means possible to amend things with my partner. I'll let you know how it goes in my next update. Thanks for being there for me and for your support. Your opinions helped me face this problem.